controversy, opinion, point of view. This is Prime News. Goes out for an early morning jog and is never seen again.
Saturday morning, Sydney teacher Sherry Arnold went for a jog and never returned home.
We just feel that there's something drastically either happened to her or something to that effect.
Sherry was wearing the shoe the last time she was seen.
An ominous clue surfaces. One of her running shoes is found in a ditch on the side of the road.
That shoe is the last thing that we have.
There were two people that kind of were sure they saw her that morning.
Maybe she was abducted.
Kidnapped or maybe hit by a car.
I don't know who would want to harm her in any way.
Well-known teacher and coach.
This is just not something that happens here.
Nearly 1,000 volunteers turned up at Sydney High School on Sunday to help find Sherry Arnold.
We had to turn some away because we just couldn't control everybody.
I learned early on in teaching that if you expect the best out of your students, that's usually what you get.
She's kind, she's sincere.
We're going to keep going until we can get some answers here.
It terrifies a small town in the Midwest. A beloved teacher and mother vanishes on her early morning jog. Sherry Arnold, a math teacher from Sydney, Montana, went out for a jog alone at about 6:30 Saturday morning and never came home. Then, the disturbing discovery, one of her sneakers found in a ditch on the edge of town. Tonight, the FBI scales back that search. What happened to Sherry Arnold? Joining me, Pat Brown, criminal profiler, and Nicole Gregory, reporter for our affiliate KULR in Billings, Montana. First to you, Nicole, what is the latest in the search for this missing teacher?
You know, the FBI hasn't scaled back on this search. They've just taken it a different direction. Also, new developments today. The family says that they are now offering a reward to an arrest and conviction to any information.
Well, the FBI has issued a statement about this, what we're called scaling back, and the statement reads, law enforcement officials determined the prudent course of action is to scale back the ground search for Ms. Arnold. At this point, law enforcement resources will be put toward other investigative efforts in this case. Pat Brown, what does that say to you as a profiler, putting us investigative resources in another way?
Yeah, that's a good question, Mike, and it doesn't seem like it should be focused back on the family like we've seen so much of. This woman seems like everybody loves her. She's not somebody who's going to be running away. The husband seems like he's okay. She's on a normal morning run that she does at 6:30 in the morning, which is extremely, extremely dangerous. And I keep trying to inform women about this. The early morning, the late evening, out by yourself. Yes, the town may be wonderful, but there's always people in that town that aren't. And there's an influx of people coming to that town because of the oil industry, a big influx recently of people coming in for work. You never know if one of those guys is driving by. That shoe in the ditch, not a good sign. It looks to me like that's an abduction. Somebody pulled her into a vehicle. Reason I can think they've been looking in a different direction is they don't think that, unfortunately, she's going to be found close by because the person had a vehicle, or maybe two people because it's easier to abduct that way, and took her someplace, drove away with her, and therefore you can search all the bushes nearby, and you're not going to find her there.
All right, folks, one of the other ways, as a former investigator, I think that they're looking, this is a town of 5,000 to 6,000 people. It's 16 blocks by 22 blocks. As I said, 5,000 to 6,000 people. But in that town, there are 41 registered sexual and/or violent offenders that are all males. Take a look at this map. Now, in the state of Montana, when you look up their sexual offender registry, they do sex offenders and violent offenders. Now, of those 10 of those that are of the 41, they have address verification is overdue. They haven't been able to find them. And one of them is a sexual violent predator. Now, Nicole, this town, it's a very quiet town. Have they ever had anything like this ever happen there in the recent past?
You know, everyone that I've talked to, nothing like this has happened, but the town is growing with the oil boom just across the border in North Dakota, so more people coming in.
Yeah, right? They've got the oil boom, they've got natural gas that they're drilling for there in North Dakota. And if somebody gets out of jail, where are they going to go? They can't go to a city and try to get a job somewhere that might be near a school, a playground. So where are they going to go? They're going to go to a rural area like this and get a job as a roughneck working on an oil rig. Now, Pat, I think that some of these resources could be looking for these the sex offenders. But where she was running, where they found that sneaker, that was found in a ditch along a route where these trucks go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what do you mean? I think that could be a good possibility right there.
That is. I mean, one of the problems we have in this town, as we've seen, is that we do have this influx of people, and a lot of the influx are males, and they're males without families because they're coming there to get some kind of job because they're unemployed somewhere else. A lot of them either leave a family behind or don't have a family, like you point out. Maybe they're coming out of prison. Maybe they're just drifters. Who knows what they are? They see an opportunity. They come into town. They got a lot of time on their hands, and they're driving around a lot. So, yes, if they're driving a truck for this particular industry or just driving their own truck, they got time to go back and forth and note this woman on the side of the road. I think they are looking at somebody perhaps who has come recently to town. That may be why suddenly there is a crime there.
And there's a lot of leads to follow up for law enforcement, local and federal, the FBI who's involved in this, where these people could be working. Now, Nicole, how far is Sydney from the Canadian border?
From the Canadian border or North Dakota border?
Well, I know it's right adjacent to the North Dakota border, but how far from Canada?
Gosh, I'm not too sure on that one. I'm sorry, I haven't even looked into that.
No, but it's relatively close here. You know, 100 miles, I think, it's somewhere thereabouts is very, very close. But Nicole, what efforts have been taken for a ground search? And what's the weather like there, and is it turning very soon?
You know, 1,000 people showed up initially right after she went missing to search. A lot of surrounding communities brought in law enforcement to look. They used canine units. They were on the ground. They walked hundreds of miles looking for.
Do you know if they were, by air, were using forward-looking infrared for any kind of heat signatures? I know it has been fairly warm, but it's been cold at night. Have they found anything at all and used any equipment like that to look for her?
I don't think so, no. They have not.
I find that unusual that maybe the FBI getting involved with this. That didn't happen. So, Pat Brown, investigators, where do they go from here?
Well, I think they're going to be checking on who those people are that have come recently to town, seeing who had seen anybody else in the area, and what kind of vehicles came and went, if they've got any kind of cameras that might have caught any vehicles moving in any direction that she was moving in as well. But the biggest problem is, Mike, is that, you know, once you got somebody in a vehicle, you can go so far. And usually the only way we ever find this person again, if something horrible has happened to them, is just by pure luck, maybe months or years down the line, which is why these guys can feel pretty confident they might get away with whatever they've done if they've done it.
Exactly. And I want to also point out that her husband is fully cooperating. He is not considered a suspect or what I hate this term, person of interest. He apparently has nothing at all to do with this. Nicole Gregg, reporter for KULR, and Pat Brown, criminal profiler, thank you again.